All right, welcome back everybody, back with another quick little news of the day video here for you guys, keeping you guys up to date with everything that's been going on in the Dota 2 Pro circuit. We have a lot to talk about today. We're just a few days away now from roster locking and things are starting to shake up quite a bit. We're going to be talking about pretty much every single region in this video, and quite frankly, I thought I was going to have to bust out the mini board again, but I managed to fit everything on here. But regardless, it is still quite a lot to talk about. And before we get into it, I do want to, as per usual, ask you guys if you've noticed that I've missed anything on this board or in previous boards that I've done in prior videos. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Try to make sure that it is something that has been confirmed. And if you want to check out anything that I talked about in this video for yourself, everything has been linked down below in the description, as well as a link to our Discord server if you want to join that. And of course, if you don't want to miss any more news of the day videos or other types of content that I'm going to be doing as we get into this new season, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you're always notified whenever I upload. And if you enjoy this video, please be sure to like and share it. It goes a long way. And of course, leave a comment answering to some of the questions that I'm going to be asking you guys about later on in the video. So yes, let's start off with some of the biggest news of the day, despite the fact that we actually have a lot of big news to talk about today. The first of which being around Enigma Galaxy. I talked about them a few days ago and their fashion that they were going to be revealing their new roster one player at a time, very similarly to what Secret did. And I was kind of theorizing that they were going to be doing the exact same thing, where they got all the way up to that last player and that they were going to announce that that player was going to be leaving for Team Secret. That was Nisha, who was going to be stepping away from that team. And for Enigma Galaxy, yes, it did happen. Miracle is going to be taking an indefinite break from professional Dota. Now, I say indefinite because we really don't have any details about this break. We don't know how long it's going to be, whether it's, just one of the tours, a few months, or if it's going to be the entire season, or maybe even beyond that. We also don't know if this is going to be a full-on break from competitive Dota, or if this is just going to be a break from Enigma Galaxy, and maybe he's going to be looking around to play for other teams. There really aren't that many details, but what we do know is that heading into this season, Enigma Galaxy is going to be having a new player replacing Miracle. And I already know that a lot of people are going to hate this. I don't think this is Enigma Galaxy's fault or Miracle's fault. I mean, quite frankly, these guys have been playing together for such a long time. It's about time one of them took a break at this point. And yeah, I mean, I don't blame people for complaining, because you can't replace a player like Miracle. No player that you're going to be able to bring into this roster is going to be able to fill that individual skill that Miracle has been able to bring to the table for such a long time now. But I think for Enigma Galaxy and their fans watching them, I think the best thing that they can hope for is that Enigma is able to find a player that, sure, will not have that individual raw skill that Miracle has, but will be able to join the team and really mesh with the team, create good chemistry with the team, and really elevate the team around them, thus to fill that slot that Miracle might be leaving behind. That is the best case scenario. We have seen that Enigma has kind of struggled with that when it comes to bringing new players into their roster. Ever since Matumbaman left before TI9, or was kicked, I should say, they've pretty much been cycling out that role ever since, having a hard time finding that consistency, whether it was with Weehaw or ILTW. Now Sumail is there, so we'll see who they're going to be able to bring in. One other thing is that these guys have played without Miracle before, specifically last season. They actually started off the first few weeks of the season without Miracle, and it was pretty rough. It was pretty bad. I think it was the first 3 or 4 series of last season they started off, and all 3 of those series were brutal. Then Miracle came back. They started to win series again. They managed to stay in the upper division, if I'm not wrong. So, yeah, we'll see if they're going to be able to do that again. Hopefully they don't have that rough of a start again. Again, Miracle, huge part of the team. And I think, again, the best thing that they can hope for is that they can have a player that joins in and just makes everyone play around him better. So yeah, we'll see who that is. Let me know who you guys think that's going to be, because getting into the next few stories here, we are finding out that there's going to be a lot more players available, specifically from Eastern Europe as well, in the core position than we might have thought at the start. And that is going to be starting off with Team Spirit, who are parting ways with TorontoTokyo. Yes, for a lot of people, this maybe felt like it came out of nowhere, but Team Spirit released their final vlog for TI11, in which we saw actually quite a bit of tension between players, and some of which talking about how they actually were just excited for the tournament to be over, which when you compare that to TI10, which was just a year prior, it was the complete opposite. You had this team of young guns that were playing. They were playing the spoiler role. They were playing on so much positivity, and it got them all the way to a championship. And you would think that they would still have a lot of that positive mental attitude. They had a pretty solid season. They were still the top team in Eastern Europe for the most part, and they won the last major of the year heading into TI. So you would think that they would have everything that you would need to head into this season to complete a back-to-back championship, maybe do exactly what OG did before them. But no, that's not what happened. They fizzled out in the first round of the lower bracket of the main stage, and now their roster is starting to fizzle out as well. This is just one move that Team Spirit is going to be having to make before the season, because now, of course, they will be having to pick up a new player. Who will that be? We don't know. Again, a lot of new core players available in the pool, as we will see in later stories. But what if there's more? What if there are more players that are leaving the team as well? This is just one. And so for Team Spirit, I think best case scenario, this is the only player that leaves. They can hold on to a majority of the roster that still, to this date, has been one of the best rosters in the Dota 2 Pro circuit. Worst case scenario, maybe 2 or 3 more players end up leaving. So yeah, we'll see what this means for Team Spirit. We'll see if they are still going to be the kings of Eastern Europe this coming season. And yeah, let's get into Virtus Pro, who have just announced their brand new roster. Over the past few weeks, Virtus Pro has been letting go of players one by one. At first, it was Ramses, who they had brought in near the end of last season. He played with them through the TI qualifiers and the last chance qualifiers. They didn't quite make it through. They then let go of both of their supports, those being Yamich and Hakoda, and they still had GPK and DM on their roster, which made sense. I thought overall GPK and DM are by far the best players on Virtus Pro. GPK specifically has just been able to single-handedly carry games, and DM can do that as well. Given the right game, given the right circumstances. But Virtus Pro has gone in a completely different direction with a brand new roster, many of which coming from the Tier 2 scene in Eastern Europe that have played in the Tier 2 scene over the past few months as well. And that roster is going to be consisting of Coma, who was previously known as Aggressive Child. He played on Perry Parney in the Eastern Europe TI 11 qualifiers, didn't quite make it through. He also played for Chicken Fighters in early portions of 2022, so again, has been lingering around the Tier 2 scene in Western Europe and Eastern Europe. We then have Squad 1X, I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that. He played for he played for Empire over the past few months. Other than that, not a whole lot of competitive experience there, but he's going to be playing mid. We then have Noticed, who is coming in from Bet Boom, who of course had a pretty fantastic year. I don't think anyone was expecting Bet Boom to be as good as they were. They ended up making it all the way to TI, and so he finds himself on this new Virtus Pro roster, definitely off of the back of some of those performances he had over the past year. We then have coming to play position for Seiyu. Seiyu had played on Gambit over this past year. Also, One Move is the team that he was on during the TI 11 qualifiers. And finally, we have Ducalis, who of course was on the Alliance stack that played in the Western European TI 11 qualifiers that unfortunately were eliminated by Team Bald. So yeah, this was definitely not a move I was expecting. Again, when you have players like GPK and DM who are that good, it feels a little strange to just kind of abandon them and just go with a completely brand new roster of Tier 2 and Tier 3 players. DM and GPK currently are on the inactive roster of Virtus Pro, but you got to imagine that now that they're inactive, they're probably going to be looking and testing the waters for some other teams that are available right now that could be picking them up. So be on the lookout for that. That could be something that ends up happening. And I think that, GPK on Team Spirit, that would be kind of crazy. I mean, that doesn't mean immediately that the chemistry is going to be there, but I mean, could you imagine? So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this specifically, because this was one of the craziest things. I was really not expecting Virtus Pro to go in this direction. They've gone for it, and so we'll see how it plays out for them into this upcoming season. And finally, the last little bit of news that we have to talk about here from Eastern Europe is going to be regarding Navi, who have let go of no one heading into these roster changes. So he has become a free agent as well. Again, another Eastern European mid laner that is available, maybe possibly going to Team Spirit. Who knows? Again, just speculation at this point. But they have brought in Nicky, who up to this point is not a player that I was familiar with. He has played for just a couple Tier 3, Tier 4 Dota 2 teams up until this point, and very, very short career up until this point. So I'd imagine that this is a player that they're taking a chance on, which seems to be a trend right now, especially with Navi, who has put together a roster of relatively unknown talent that has more or less worked out over the past year or so. And finally, bringing in Malady, who over the past year has been playing with Hellraisers, a team that has had their moments here and there. They've definitely had quite a bit of success, specifically in early portions of last year. Things kind of fizzled out after that, but either way, still a player that definitely was warranted looking out for, and he's going to be joining the new Navi roster, which now consists of Vtune, can be playing the position 1 role still. He's been with the team for over 2 years at this point, definitely the longest standing player on Navi. Nicky is going to be playing mid. We then have Lace, who's going to be continuing to play off lane, Sweet and Strong continuing to play position 4, and Malady filling in that position 5 role. So let me know what you guys think about this new Navi roster, about any of these new changes from Eastern Europe. What do you guys think that the scope for Eastern Europe is going to be looking like for the next year? Who is the new king of the region? I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Okay, let's wrap up this video. We just have a few more stories here. Kicking things off with SMG over in Southeast Asia. They, of course, had 2 slots to fill heading into this season. They have gone ahead and done that by adding CDR, aka Chidori, and Xavius, aka Boomy, to play on their roster. Their roster now consists of Chidori, who previously has played on teams like Phoenix over in China. He's going to be playing position 1 for them. We, of course, have Moon playing mid, and mid 1 actually moving to the off lane for this upcoming season for Chidori to be able to come in and play that carry role. So mid 1, we've seen him make the transition in between roles before, from going from mid to carry. We'll see how he's able to do that in moving to the off lane this time around for this upcoming season. We then have Afu, of course, continuing to play position 4, and finally Xavius, aka Boomy, coming to play position 5, who has, of course, been with Polaris for the past little while, which is a team that has been picking up quite a bit of momentum over the past year in Southeast Asia. So I like this move quite a bit for SMG. We'll see how they're going to be able to do, if they're still going to be considered one of the better teams in Southeast Asia. They always had a bit of a hard time cracking into the top 3 with teams like Fnatic, Boom, and T1, but with some of those teams now going through some pretty hefty changes in their rosters, some of which have not really filled up their roster up until this point, that spot is wide open, and we'll see if SMG is going to be that team that's going to be able to capture that. Finally, let's head over to China and North America. First of which, with China, we have news from Vici Gaming, whose roster is now in shambles just days before the roster locking period, with XM, Frisk, aka Fade, and their coach, Liekkas, who have now all left the roster up until this point. Their roster now just consists of Erica, BAB, and Yang. So Vici Gaming, we'll see if they're going to be able to put a roster together in time for this upcoming season. They still have a few days, and overall China has quite a few players available right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if they are able to do that. But again, losing players specifically like Fade and XM is pretty big, because those were arguably some of the best players on the roster from last year. So that's got to be a bit of a deterrent for new players coming into this new roster. So let's end things off here with North America. We have Nouns, who, although they didn't formally announce this roster, they have officially registered for the Dota 2 Pro Circuit with this roster. It is the roster that they have been playing with in a third-party tournament over the past little while, and that is going to be Yves coming into play position 1, aka Yamson. He has been playing with Wildcard Gaming over the past year, which is a team that has been getting themselves into more and more conversations regarding the North American Tier 1 scene. They have definitely made a name for themselves, and even though the roster didn't stay together fully, Yamson, aka Yves, is definitely a player to look out for, and I like this move a lot. But it does mean that they're going to be dropping Costabile, which is also a pretty big thing, because I think Costabile had been one of the better players on the roster as well. So, you know, it's one of those things where you lose a good player, you bring in a new good player. We'll see how the chemistry is. But regardless, we have Gunnar making his return to this team for the 2nd year in a row. He had left the team looking to expand his options and see what was out there, just to end up back on this stack once again. Moo coming in to play the offlane. We have Leslao coming in to replace Z-Freak in the position 4 role. So despite those controversies, he still finds himself on a new team heading into this season. And finally, Husky returning to position 5 for this upcoming season. So I like this move quite a bit. It shakes things up without it being anything too major. We'll see if this ends up being what Nouns needs to take that next step in North America, which right now, again, as I've been saying, North America is kind of wide open right now with the Quincy Crew stack that hasn't been revealed yet, and of course the old EG boys. Who knows who could end up being number 1, number 2 in North America. TSM is definitely making their case for being number 1. But who's going to be joining them in that race? Let me know in the comments down below exactly what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you want to check out anything that I talk about in this video for yourself, everything has been linked down below in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell so you always know when I'm uploading. And yeah, things are going to be getting pretty crazy over the next couple days. So if you don't want to miss any more videos, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.